Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede, and last week Governor Ron DeSantis delivered his State of the State address, highlighting all of the culture war issues he is riding to national prominence, before ending on this somewhat, well, ominous note.
We won't back down, and I can promise you this, you ain't seen nothing yet.
This year, we are looking at further restrictions on abortion, a dramatic increase in school vouchers, and repeal of some of the laws created to keep kids safe after the Marjory Stoneman Douglas massacre. Republicans have free rein to pretty much do what they want in Tallahassee, as Democrats have been made largely irrelevant. The day after the governor's address, I spoke to the Speaker of the Florida House, Paul Renner, and asked for his thoughts on the governor's speech.
Well, I think it was inspiring. You know, the governor noted how Florida is #1 in so many of the good categories, and that's just accelerated during his time as governor. So we're proud of what's happening in Florida. There's always challenges and opportunities for us to tackle, and we intend to look at those this year in the final year of my time in the legislature. But very excited and bullish on Florida.
So give me an idea of what some of your priorities are this time around.
Well, I mean, one thing we want to do is continue to create an environment for customized learning for our students. So we have HB1, which significantly clears a backlog for children with unique abilities like autism, to make sure parents don't have to say no to the extra resources that they need. So that the bill does that. It also creates an opportunity for really customized learning. So your child, may need some additional reading help or math help at home or via a tutor. So an ESA that's part of that bill will allow that to happen. That's certainly a priority. I mentioned, looking at some of the challenges of Florida. We have an infrastructure strategies committee, which is looking really 20, 30 years into the future. In a term limited world, it's very easy for us as politicians to look at what are the things right now that people are looking at, but we've also got to look, where are we going to be as a state with people coming in to our state 20 years from now if we don't tend to our water supply, water treatment, land conservation, resiliency issues. So we're trying to be really thoughtful and deliberative in a long-term way on infrastructure as well.
So let's go back to HB1 for a second. You highlighted a couple of things that bill does, but that bill goes much further. Am I correct in saying that bill would dramatically expand the use of vouchers in the state of Florida?
Yeah, I mean, we go by ESAs, but it would provide universal choice. It would be the biggest school choice bill in the nation, and one that I'm proud of. And so it would do all of those things and provide some eligibility for people, especially in the middle class right now, that don't have that opportunity. And many people will stay, as the majority do now, in their public schools. And if you're somebody in an affluent neighborhood, you may have the best public school, one of the best public schools in the state, but you have to afford a multi-million-dollar house to live there. And so those people already have an opportunity to have a good public school education, as do others. And if people are happy at their public school, they'll stay there. But we want to make sure people at all income levels have an opportunity to enjoy the benefits of customized learning.
I covered Jeb Bush during both his first run in '94, his second run in '98, and his time as governor. And I remember when he introduced the voucher program and talked about it. We've come a long way since then. The argument at that time for why we needed to take taxpayer dollars and funnel them to either charter school or into private schools was essentially that schools are failing students right now. That doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, Miami is an A school district. State test scores have gone up, as the governor and others like to brag about. I guess what I'm trying to understand is what the need is for something like this when schools in Florida have clearly been improving.
Well, what school choice has done, Jim, during that period, you mentioned Jeb Bush, is create accountability and competition. So in every business, you go into a car dealership, there's an entrance and there's an exit. And if you don't like what you see on that showroom floor, you go out the exit, but not in public schools, where you had to go to the school where you were zoned. And if it was failing, too bad, you were stuck there.
But wait a second, that zoning changed a long time ago. That changed probably 10, 15 years ago, that you weren't tied to the school.
No, that's
right?
right. But I mean, my point is competition has made public schools better. And so we always want to have an entrance and an exit to any type of choice in education. And so you mentioned how we have a lot of public schools who are doing quite well. The result of that is with a choice program like this, some people are not going to leave the public school where they are. They're going to be happy, and they are happy where they are. And that's great. In other words, we want our public schools to do well. We want all schools to do well so that no matter what a parent or student chooses, they have what's optimal for them, and they have customized learning for them wherever that is. It be it a traditional public school, a charter school, a homeschool, a private school. And so by going in this manner, what we're trying to aim towards is truly customized learning across the board. So even greater competition means even, I believe, even greater performance from our public schools, many of which are excellent. And I was a product of public schools. My mom was a public school teacher. I got a good education, and many people, as they are now, will stay exactly where they are and be happy in their public school.
Competition is great as long as it's an even playing field. Will HB1 level the playing field in this regard? I mean, I know that private schools, charter schools, aren't required, for instance, to take students with learning disabilities, that often those schools don't want that because of the extra cost associated with having to educate them. Will the bill level that playing field and require public, or rather private and charter schools to take students with special needs?
Well, the bill doesn't give any more in scholarship than what a public school kid gets. It's all tied to the FEFP. And if you break that down further, your district schools are receiving more money in terms of capital dollars for buildings and whatnot. The scholarship is really more like a tuition amount only. And so there won't be more money going out, and actually saves taxpayers money. The people that have participated in this choice programs, it's actually saving taxpayer funds. So there's more available to provide for public schools. And so, no, I don't think that'll be the case at all.
What is the cost of this bill?
We've estimated $200 million will be the cost, depending on what the uptake is. And so that's where we think it is. It could be less, it could be more, but that's what we've estimated the cost currently.
It sounds low to me, only because I've spoken to some parents. For instance, I know parents of a child, or who have actually two children, who they're currently sending them to private school. They've just been paying to send them to private school. Now suddenly they see this bill as an opportunity to say they're going to get a check from the state for their two kids, so that a school that might have cost them $20,000 last year, they're now in their heads, or $15,000, they're in their heads now thinking, great, now it's only going to cost me $5,000 or $6,000, depending on what I get back from the state. So it just seems to me like every student, every parent with a student currently in private school would be crazy not to file the paperwork to get a $8,000 to $10,000 bonus back from the state for each kid they have. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't know that all private schools will take the scholarship, and I know there are some, here locally, and others around the state that I think are not going to take the scholarship, and so that would not be available to them. But sure, if there's a family, a middle class family that is struggling, but are making a decision to make sacrifices to try to get their kid in a public school, they're paying taxes, and frankly, they're foregoing a free education in the public schools, which they paid for, by the way, which they paid for through their property taxes and other taxes. Why should the money not follow the student and give that family an opportunity to be able to afford life in a time when it's very unaffordable, thanks to the inflation that the federal government's kicked off?
And the same goes for wealthy people. If a wealthy person is sending their child to school, they can now count on, under this proposal, getting a rebate from the state for the tax dollars that probably even more than they paid into the system back for them, right?
They could, but as I said, some of the best public schools in our state are also in highly affluent neighborhoods where you have to be able to afford a multi-million-dollar home to be zoned there. And so I think it's fair to say that they're getting a free education, if you will. They're getting covered, but they paid for that education as well through their property taxes. And so right now we don't have any income limits for our VPK program. We don't have any income limits for the Unique Abilities program. But for those that don't fall into those categories, everyone will be able to take advantage of it. How many will is an entirely separate question, whether they'll spend the time to fill out paperwork or the $7,800 or so that may be devoted toward that ESA.
And they can go to religious schools as well, correct?
Absolutely, and they have for 25 years, and that is actually an important part of their right as parents to go somewhere where their values are respected, and whether it's a Jewish school, and we have many supporters there in South Florida that feel very strongly and are strongly in support of this bill, so that their values are respected and taught, along with the basics of reading, math, and general knowledge that all kids get. And so at the end of the day, in our choice programs, we see kids that are more likely to go to college, more likely to graduate from college than their peers in the public schools. So I think the evidence is there that when you allow customization, you get better outcomes. And so there's testing. We always have accountability around this to make sure that kids are progressing. But the evidence that's in after a generation is these programs work, and they'll work for the additional people that are able to benefit from it.
When we come back, we turn to abortion and guns as we continue our discussion with the Speaker of the House, Paul Renner. Stay with us.